is this. As we all know, success has many fathers. And yes, my father was one of the people involved in Tampa Union Station preservation and redevelopment, along with a lot of other fine people. And I think that over the past 30 years or so, people have joined the effort that we never thought would, we never thought it would happen. So it's great to see the station's continued relevance and continued meaning to people that are actually in the community and maybe didn't even grow up here. So like anybody else in history, I suspect, the reality is I have an eBay problem. And I don't know if those of you who are not into history know what I'm talking about, but you follow things on eBay and you say, gee, that's cool. I really have to buy it. And I do this a lot. And so the other day I bought this. And they are tickets from Tampa to Jacksonville and return on the Seaboard Airline Railroad, of course, out of Tampa Union Station. And the original tickets, 1949, the original tickets in here. And so a little tiny thing. I thought that was pretty cool. So I emailed the seller and I said, you know, what's the story? I mean, do you have a story here? I mean, what's the story of the tickets? And lo and behold, he did. And he wrote me back. And he said, and here's the fun part, back when I started hanging around the train station, I didn't need these darn readers. Which just appeared on me. I think Randy, our president, was very helpful here. Thanks, Randy. You're a pal. The seller was a guy named Theo Murphy, and who said, I remember the train station. I was 3 years old when my mom and I left Jacksonville for Tampa. Maryland Insurance Company, who she worked for, sent her and two men to open a Tampa office. I didn't know anyone. Tough times, but good times. Mom retired from the company in 1980. She kept everything, and I found some tickets and folders in her things. That's pretty cool, y'all. And thanks to eBay, we know that they sat in seats 35 to 39 on, I think, the Silver Meteor on July 17, 1949. Tampa Union Station is all about people's stories. I've heard many of them over the years, and I've done my best to chronicle them and put them into print. And I think all of us have a Tampa Union Station story. Mine started out when I was about 3. My parents took me on a train ride, and I was forever hooked on the joy of riding passenger trains. And that is something that you can still do today from Tampa Union Station. If you think about it, how many other buildings in Tampa, and that building is 110 years old now, still serve their original purpose, what Tampa Union Station does. And aside from the port and the airport, we are the 3rd largest transportation facility in the city. We're also the 3rd busiest Amtrak station in the state, believe it or not. About 150,000 people a year. That's not a lot of people compared to the airport, but then again, there aren't a lot of trains anymore. But I think that the future for rail continues to be ahead of us. One challenge has been, it's been ahead of us for a long time now. So back in the mid-'80s, and this is when I got involved in Tampa Union Station along with my dad, basically the station was falling apart, and there had been an effort to turn it into a multimodal transit facility led by city leaders and others, and Amtrak was a part of that. Amtrak decided to do something really dumb at that time. They decided to stop serving Tampa and St. Petersburg by train. And then a congressman from Pinellas County decided, well, I'll get even with them, and he cut off the funds for the intermodal facility at Tampa Union Station. And that was that. Administrations changed here in Tampa. CSX, at the time, fairly new company, the descendant of the corporate founders of Tampa Union Station Company, put a property available sign in the front lawn. A couple years later, the city of Tampa came along and condemned it, and it got boarded up. Something happened in 1991, though, that helped us to reverse that tight. A nonprofit group called Friends of Tampa Union Station Preservation and Redevelopment. Friends of Tampa Union Station is our current organization. But Tusper, as we call it, acquired the station through a lease, or through a mortgage held by CSX. And they put down a $50,000 down payment on that mortgage. Joe Chalura and Linda Salsina were the ones on the Hillsborough County Commission at the time that supported providing that money for that down payment. And so the long road back started there. It took $4.1 million to restore the station. The nonprofit owned it for about 9 years. And I need to tell you, the roof had leaked for 30 years. There were dead pigeons floating in water in the basement. Plaster was falling all over the interior of the building. If you went up the stairs to the former Pullman Company offices, or the former Seaboard Airline offices, or the former Atlantic Coastline offices that were in the building, you found that they left all their paperwork behind. So we found all kinds of fun stuff. And I recall going into the building, the boarded up building with a flashlight and pulling stuff down and throwing it in boxes. All that stuff's at USF now. We've got records that date all the way back to the beginning of Tampa Union Station in 1912. And Rodney, if the Tampa Bay History Center had been around, we would have given it to the Tampa Bay History Center. So, anyway, as a result, a lot of the history of Tampa Union Station has been preserved there. The building, as I mentioned, was built in 1912. It's called a Union Station because all three railroads in Tampa served it. Typically, you would see Union Stations where more than one railroad existed in a town. We had 3 at the time. They're now 1. CSX, but originally it was the Seaboard Airline, the Atlantic Coastline, and the Tampa Northern. It's sort of the original unfunded mandate in Tampa. The railroads didn't want to build a new station. The railroads were content with the shabby depots they had on the streets of downtown Tampa. But Wallace Stovall, the publisher of the Tampa Tribune newspaper, and Peter O'Knight, another community leader, convinced the railroads by going to the State Railroad Commission and saying, let's compel the railroads to build Tampa the station it deserves. If you travel by train, you know that there are a lot of historic stations on the Amtrak system, and it's interesting what they do. Ours is a great example, but it does just a little bit of business for its size. Good comparable is San Diego, the station there, the historic Santa Fe station, which does 2 million people a year. And so never let anyone tell you that a historic building can't do what it was designed to do just because it's old. It's an incredible facility. We have, since the restoration was completed 24 years ago, we have all been waiting for the renaissance in rail passenger travel. And unfortunately, what we've seen is a lot of hope for the future. And that hope continues, but the reality is that the building as it stands now needs help again. The windows are rotten, the building has termites in it, there's all sorts of issues with the air conditioning system. We could remedy all these things, and we're looking forward to working with the City of Tampa CRA to get funding to make the corrections desperately needed for the building. But beyond that, there are other things as well. Additional uses for Tampa Union Station are very much needed. And Councilman Carlson has come up with a couple of those. It would be great to get additional tenants in the building besides Amtrak for any number of reasons, but one of which is we could get dedicated revenue coming back to support the station itself. Friends of Tampa Union Station has also created an endowment fund for the station at the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay. We think that's significant. We're up to about $300,000 there in private donations, and that helps to support the operation of, the upkeep of the station as it is now. The city's actually owned, the station's actually owned by the City of Tampa, and they do a reasonably good job of maintaining the station. But the reality of it is that Tampa Union Station is 110 years old. So additional uses for the station are definitely hoped for and warranted. And we look forward to working with the city and other stakeholders in the community to make those uses happen. So anyway, not terribly by the way, let's talk about one other thing. Bright Line is the sort of $64,000 question as to where they'll land in Tampa. And my thought is this. We don't know. They have supported some of our events over at Tampa Union Station, but we don't know if they'll land at Tampa Union Station. They may well wind up at a different facility. A part of their model is real estate. So, but if I told you that there is a transportation facility in Tampa where right now you can take the train from Tampa to Savannah or Washington, D.C., or cities in the Carolinas, or Miami, or Jacksonville, or all these places that are served by Amtrak's interstate trains, you'd say that's a pretty good thing. And I would argue that's reason enough for us to have a bold vision and support historic Tampa Union Station. I want to push out our website to you. It is actually TampaUnionStation.com. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, Friends of Tampa Union Station, and Bill did a nice job of promoting the book. All the royalties from that book actually go to the nonprofit. So happy to answer any questions you might have about the station or our efforts.